Thumbs up. Hey there, Jordan Chariton, live from my old stomping grounds, Flint, Michigan. I'm here at the home of Tony Palladino. Actually ran for mayor among, what was it, like 25,000 people ran? 130,000 people. Right. You ran for mayor last year. You've been here pretty much all your life. Bruce Steers, as you could see, Rust Belt, man who works with his hands, takes a shower after work. And I've spoken with you both many times here. And I think it's important kind of come back, what are we at, 4 years after this water switch? Because not a lot has changed, shockingly to me, even though I don't expect much from this government. I published a piece yesterday. It's been getting around, thank God. Basically, that really puts into doubt and puts out a lot of questions about the science that has been used to declare the water safe. Everything from extremely small sample sizes, relying on records that were put on index cards, to say we tested homes connected to lead service lines here, which is the EPA regulation mandates you have to test at least 50% of your water samples from homes connected to lead service lines. A lot of other things in that story, including the fact that there's still many homes testing at high levels for lead here in Flint. Yet, Governor Snyder has declared it restored. Mark Edwards, the Virginia Tech scientist, that got a whole lot of money from the EPA to test here, he has declared the water normal was the word compared to other cities with lead pipes. And of course, the state of Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, which caused this mess in the first place, they also say the water is safe. I'm here with two residents. You've been through the ringer here physically as well as mentally. You know, it's
financially.
Financially.
I want to back you up just a little bit. They keep saying lead and copper, lead and copper. Well, we got proof from Scott Smith and a few others. Wayne State, you know. There's other things than just lead and copper in this. People, we've been saying it for 4 years. We can go back to 2011 when really the KWA fiasco started kicking in. And anyways, there's more than lead and copper. I mean, we got hair loss and my dog's down. Things are not good. Anger problems. It's starting to really take toll. They're saying now that the kids that are 7 younger, we're going to look at. Well, that's bull, because this started in 2014, they say. My granddaughter's already 11, and she's being ignored because of it. So call it lead and copper all you want. It's more than that. We've been poisoned, and we know how and who. It's a foundational move. It's a corporate move. It's GM. Let's not forget that was their mighty river. They dumped mighty stuff in. So,
and you know, my story, the link to the story that I published yesterday is in the description box. But basically, the EPA-funded scientists, essentially to declare the water normal, looked at 34 homes in a city. I mean, different estimates, but way more than 34 homes. You have the University of Michigan Flint did a lead service line map study to say where are the lead service lines, because obviously you need to test homes connected to lead service lines to see what the levels are in the water. I have the guy on the record, Marty Kaufman, on the record, who led that study, basically telling me we're missing 11,000 to 15,000 homes. We had to toss out many homes because these were written on index cards. Half of them couldn't be read. There's a whole lot of other alarming things in the study.
Didn't Gleason have that information? He took that to the mayor, that he had all this information available. Yeah, on the deeds. And no one pursued that? Right. Why? Was there money to be made?
So I want to ask you guys, when Mark Edwards declares the water is normal, when Governor Snyder declares the water is restored, you have experience with infrastructure and things like that. Tell me your thoughts, because it seems to me from the reporting I've done, the testing is very suspect, very selective. It is not citywide. And most importantly, there's not even verification that they tested homes connected to lead service lines.
All right, and thank you for coming, Jordan, and giving us the opportunity to speak. We appreciate that. I'd like to say that, you know, first and foremost. The city of Flint, when it gets Gleeville water to the city waterfront plant, it's pretty much all up on everybody what they're saying on the safe side of the issue. It's from the water plant forward to the point of distribution to the taps that there comes in several different, anomalies that are not really characteristic of your hometown. Most hometowns aren't built on toxic waste dumps because a lot of the properties here were built on waste that was produced by the industries years and years ago before tests were being provided. Now these pipes that are laying there that are rotted and in those areas, they tend to leach in those chemicals. That's going to happen. And so here in the city of Flint, you have the water that comes through Gliwa, and then it hits the pipes. Gliwa is the Great Lakes Water Authority that was formulated by the split divide of Detroit downtown, and Gliwa is the oldest portion of Detroit's water plant that has been dedicated to the city of Flint for 30 years. And Gliwa produces the water that comes to Flint via Lake Huron and treats the water. Once it reaches here and goes to the pipes, there's a labyrinth of pipes here that run through various property, various grounds and soil conditions. As I'm trying to explain the gentlest as I can, if you have a bunch of pipes that are running through a bunch of, crap, you're bound to gonna get crap in your water if you take care of your leaks in your pipes and you're trying to get water through them. It's just standard, come on, science. No, it's standard practice. Okay, you don't drink out of contaminated pipes, period. Okay, your mom and dad raised you when you were little. Don't drink out of that. The hose is better than that. Okay, well, okay, so let's go to the basic brass tacks. We've got 24,000 residential customers on the water line of a 300,000 population sized system. That is just absolute asinine. Okay, the buildups.
And just to make it clear, that's because of the depopulation here in Flint, because of the economy, because of the jobs being sent to China, because of all these things. Flint used to have closer, NAFTA, Flint used to have closer to 300,000, and now, less than 100,000. The census, the last census, it has over 100,000, but the census hasn't been updated. It will be updated in 2020.
Thank you, Jordan, for that. That is absolute accurate information. I'd like to just stress on the fact that the people for the city of Flint for 2014 until now, they still don't really have a voice in any of the matters that are being handled for them, by them, to them. Most of all, they don't have a voice in the money of how their money is being spent. And so when you're spending that kind of money and you're not allowing the person that's paying the bill to ask a question without giving them some kind of browbeating or some kind of terrific, hardship, going to be. The city of Flint has an ability to correct the problem. And so if you take the 30,000 people that they have to shut down 19,000 people maybe for forfeiture, how does that benefit the supply and demand push of keeping the water safe? It doesn't. And so the city has to shrink back that supply system that it has coming from its plant to brand new pipes from the plant forward to the distribution of the 24,000 homes that are being supplied by it. But you don't see any major equipment. You don't see any pipeline companies. You don't see any major lines of pipe being laid out. We did have a pipe company that shut down, spiral wound pipe. They didn't do anything here. They did, but come on now. The pipes that are here, you don't see any projects that are going on that are here. But if you go out through Genesee County, you'll find out like Saginaw Valley has a major pipeline going through here. They've got probably 80 side booms out there. and about, I'm going to guess, probably $3 million worth of pipe laying on the ground, and it's going to go on the ground. It's a pipeline project. That's what they look like. When you don't see any kind of action going on to create that kind of a change, there's a purposeful reason that nobody's spending that kind of money. It's because they were told not to.
And would part of that purpose be to let the struggling people of Flint suffer until they move, so that we can basically drive poor people, frankly, poor white people, poor black people, it's all poor, out, and basically make it a yuppie college town, which is what I am kind of seeing?
I got a feeling, well, this is what it is. What does the college do? It teaches your people to do other jobs in other places. You know, GM people came here. We had the best educational system through Mott and Manly. It was used in Japan. This was the place to be back in the day. Let's talk about the taxes and the way they're doing these houses and the land bank and the land grab and the master plans. We're not a part of that. There's a reason for that. And I, like Bruce, I agree. Why are we running one pipe all the way out to Carpenter Road for one family? That's fine. You're going to get rid of that family guy or that house. What do you do with them? You don't care. And I'm not talking just one. There's thousands of us leaving the city. Why? Because we're being poisoned. There's no pussyfoot, whatever it is. No, it's poison. We've been poisoned. You can't soften that up.
Well, I want to just show, Jen, could you flip it around there? So you have, Tony did a little of the last few years coming out of his hair. So
well, that's fine in Leah's hair in the shower.
Hold on.
For some reason, my kid back in the day said, "Dad, you're getting old using hair." Well, then I know it's kind of sick, but this is what we got to show you, America. This is really happening. I give all this information here on the right. There's the 9 different chemicals they found in my house. 9 different chemicals, not just lead and copper, folks. All right, we'd stand up in meetings and they shut us. We're going to shut you off. Well, you can't shut us up. Well, they have shut us up. It's becoming passé now. We're tired of pounding our heads against the wall. We haven't given up. It's just gotten so crazy. This poster's been to D.C. I've had my granddaughter in Lansing. We've been up and down these streets in the cold, cold weather, and we're getting sicker. I don't care what anybody says. Right now, my health, I'm shooting insulin now. My eyes are getting blurry, and the anger issues, the anxieties, the depression, it's not being addressed properly either. Although they say they have all this money allocated for the funding, but, and I'm going to use Leah word, it's bullshit because it hasn't hit the streets. All this money, like Bruce is talking, there was a resolution the mayor passed to make sure that all funds or whatever comes through the Greater Community Foundation of Flint, which is United Way, Red Cross, and all your corporate companies. Are they doing good? They're doing okay. It doesn't reach us. You know, like right now, they cut us off of water. And then some chemicals are going to spike. We're going to be fighting in the streets.
Now, so when you say, because that's from all the way back to the water switch in 2014 through the last few years, but when they say that the water now is safe and the water is restored, obviously that I take it Bruce doesn't buy that, because the testing that they have done has been fairly selective and fairly cherry-picked. Essentially, EPA funds the scientists. The state that caused this, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, chooses the addresses that they want to test.
Let's not forget the people that are proving that this water is bad, shut out, called liars, all from the state, the MDEQ, the EPA. Why? Even the CDC caught on to some things with this hating that worked on, you know, Henry Ford coming in saying this, and they discredit them. They unfund them. They deny everything they're saying to full light. Why is that? Because you hid this stuff under the carpet. We've been fighting this all. Listen to the residents for the first 8-9 months, including your congressman and some, maybe they were hearing it, but they didn't act on it. How much time did we lose there?
Do you think, Bruce, based on your knowledge about what kind of testing that they have done, the frankly small sample size?
Can I ask you a question? Jordan, how many people did they tell you that they tested?
30,000
1,000?
homes, yeah. According to them. 30,000 samples, they said.
30,000 samples.
17 homes? 7 homes?
No,
Who
no, no,
knows?
that's Edwards. Michigan Department of Environmental Quality said.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Now, but when Flint came in to get the all clear from the state, because see, this is what Mr. Baird and Mr. Snyder were most poignant in attacking. I don't care what anybody says. All we need to do is meet the minimum. Okay? So what do we got to do to meet the minimum, gentlemen? Let's make happen. Okay? And so if you take the broad scope of how many people that are out there, it is that 3,000 homes out of 37,000 possible homes that needed testing. And so that's, to me, less than like 1%. Okay? So if less than 1% can give you the go-ahead to pass a passing grade to your water, well, again, point of source. When that water comes out of that Flint plant and it hits them streets, where are you going to test that water? Yeah. What about all those that are sitting out here that were there, that are no longer there? They're properties, but they still got a lot of pipe going to them. They're not being used. Okay? So that water goes out to things. Well, you know, service water costs and service water fees, and everybody in the city has to pay a monthly service water. I don't care if you don't use it at all. It's still $50. Okay? So I'm kind of interested in who's been paying the city right straight along for all these service fees for the industrial plants. That's a financial issue because the city is financially crippled and it's doing it to itself still. And it's trying to enforce the side of the portion of its population the highest percentage of what it owes in its bills. And that is just outrageously wrong in any context, in any city that you go to. But in the city of Flint, you have to remember that you have 58% of the children are living in homes under poverty income. And that the parents of the parent income, well, lo and behold, 58% of my kids are below poverty, 40% of my population are below poverty. The state's going to foot the bill. All we got to do is wait, but hey, guess what? We still got to have money month to month. So the director that they hired says, put the screws to the people. Okay? That solves nothing.
So when you say that, are you talking about this new Treasury guy who's basically is tax liens on people's property who aren't paying for the water?
Absolutely, absolutely. His formula would work maybe in Boston, Philadelphia. It might work in Chicago, although I doubt it. But it's not going to work because the impoverishment of Flint is already as such that they're already at. There's no threshold deeper in poverty that they can go except to get up and leave. And so if you are being told, I'm sorry, every corner of avenue that you go to for help and assistance, now you're thinning the herd down. Okay? And so you got all these assistance on applications on file, and I really think that Weaver is very cunning in using the state assistant program, welfare, food stamp, G-card, everything at her disposal to try to bring dollars, but I don't see the dollars expending into pipeline projects for revitalizing the city. Rowe Engineering hasn't put out one word, and they were real heavy into all of this Flint River stuff. Dane Walling, he's running for some state rep's office, and he's not putting in one word of iota of what went on. And so the people that were there in office are no longer there. Well, Scott Freeman, where's he? Where's the other two guys that were running the show? One of them was a senator. I can't even. Yeah, Ananek, and that crew. Okay, that was in there. Did you
mean Josh Freeman when you said Scott?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Josh Freeman. It was. And I'm not trying to pick on the guy. Right. I'm just saying that these are players that were in the game that need to come up to the table with proposals and plans and so forth. None of them's going to do it. So Genesee County has the stroke, and the college plan format is to kind of push aside that pocket of poverty that the city has built over the past 85 years.
When you say the college plan is to move this pocket of poverty, basically force people out of Flint. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Can I touch on that? As a landlord owning property, if say Bruce was on welfare state aid, they cover his water bill. But Bruce could run that up and they could have shutoffs, whatever. He leaves. That water bill stays with the house. I'm living it right now. I have a $1,500 water bill from a person that lived there. Although they've been shut off, that stays with the house. How is that fair? I'm the landlord who's trying to power and all that, where they destroy me. Now they get to come in because this person's on welfare. Who pays that bill? The state does. But they're giving them forgiveness, so they're giving the state forgiveness. Who suffers? The landlord that's charging $400 a month just now owns $1,200. That's 3-4 months he's lost right there. It's not right. So when the charter come up, the review, I put that into an action and see how it's going to work out. All the landlords shouldn't have to pay for what you are using. You know, there's a lot of other things. The master plan, they come in with a streetlight tax.
Explain to the audience what that means.
All right, the emergency manager come in and proposed, and they put into action a streetlight tax. So every lot that you own, or you acquire, or house, or whatever, you pay $72 a year for. Right, $72 a year you pay for something. Now through the land bank, you used to be able to pick these lots up. $50 to $300 or whatever it is. Now you have to pay $72. I got property from the state back in the day, cost me $30. 20 of that was paperwork. Now I owe $72 a year, and then they triple on it and quadruple on it, and they can keep increasing that. It'll be $93, $96 before you know it. A lot that you have to clean and take care of. Through the land bank, they're doing the same thing. Not only are you getting that lot, but you have to take care of it, and you're getting taxed unless you can slide it onto your property. But you can't do that if you're in bankruptcy. You see, the whole city's in trouble. This master plan's been a failure. The emergency manager caused a lot of this. The land bank, to me, started out as one program and ended up being a disguise. And we can go further into that.
It seems to me what you're describing is the state basically bankrupted Flint through a lot of the investment and other things, bankrupted Flint, but it was a mix of the state, federal policies, this and that. And now that Flint's bankrupted, now that Flint's poisoned, to me it seems like it's kind of like let them fend for themselves until they leave.
Out of sight, out of mind.
How much money has the state received during this?
From Congress, quite a lot.
Okay, so let's do a little bit of basic, background. How much money is a lot of money? Okay, a hell of a lot of money, right? The state of Michigan has received. Okay? How much is it doled out? As much as it wants to.
So that's important. So Congress, under Obama, at the end of his term, they put out, I believe it was $180 million was supposed to come to Flint. That somehow got watered down to $100 million. And who did they send the money to be the gatekeeper of the money? That would be Governor Rick Snyder, the same governor who has basically challenged a federal court order to deliver bottled water home to home. That's taxpayer for his criminal defense fund.
The money went to the accommodation programs. The money went to the Mott Foundation.
Keep going.
Under resolution.
Well, I'm saying, okay, I'm saying that the money went to the Mott Foundation because of the nonprofits that are in the organization for handling these kind of programs that are being put into place. One of them would be the new school that was typically lead exposed children, and I want to clarify that exposure to lead in any kind of format, in any kind of way, is poisoning your system. If you're unaware that you're inhaling or that you're consuming or that your skin is being attacked, then you're unaware. So any kind of lead is not good in any context with the human being. So the exposure versus being poisoned. Okay, how long was the person exposed? How long do you have to be exposed before you get cancer? Okay, how long do you have to be exposed before your bones start showing up metal inside of them? How long does that last? Life. Okay, so the doctors at Hurley that are kind of like putting, well, you know, it's exposure, it's not poisoning. Okay, well, Dr. Hannah, I give 1,000 kudos to for putting this record straight, that it was not a general consensus of the room, that everybody agreed in that room, and that she does not agree with her colleagues or idea versus.
Well, first of all, share this video. Let's get it out to as many people as we want. Obviously, YouTube has been playing games, and not as many people that should see these streams are seeing them right now. So exposure is what happens like when you go to the beach. You know, you get exposed to too much sun. Poisoning is what happens when you don't know what's coming into your body. And most public health officials, because again, the EPA's lead and copper rule is not a rule for public health. It's a rule for, you know, the EPA to put out some arbitrary number. Most public health officials will say the level of lead in water that's acceptable is 0, because you could have I could have 15 parts per billion in my system and be fine. You could have 4 parts per billion in your system and not be fine. Maybe because you're older, or maybe because you have a compromised autoimmune system. Whatever the case may be, it is a foreign agent that's not supposed to be in your body. But it's also, as you've said and you said, it's not just lead. I've met people that had high levels of chromium in their system, high levels chloroform.
Look what chlorine. Look at what overexposure, you know, creates havoc of problems. Here's another issue, and nobody really touches on it to say, I don't know, you know, but I'll say it here. Fluoride, when mixed with lead and in water and then ingested, it multiplies that, exasperates it to like 3,000% into percentages of what people, how it may affect you. And you're right, I may only be 10%, you may be 100%, okay? But the fact is that the doctors at Hurley Hospital were with the people in a voice to very serious and on, and it was ongoing. And it wasn't until that little voice stood up and gave credentials to the fact that the people in the EPA were lying. Okay, now to attack from within would be to take in that portion, I feel, of support for the public. You have to do away with that support. You have to do away with anything that, you know, generated any kind of positive, if you would, in the I want to say in the people's behalf. When I say people's behalf, I'm talking medical. Anything that could be, excuse me,
state is calling. They don't want you talking.
Anything that could be proven. Okay? Anybody that came to this town with credentials got rode out on a rail, or and they hung out long enough and they kept saying the right kind of words, we're kind of like given that meeting in the office and a check was forwarded. Okay, and then for that person and their group, but it didn't change anything in Flint. And so where I stand right now is not who did what, why, when, and where, because I think all of those are obvious. People should be in people should be in jail, but they're not. People should have had to pay back restitution.
Actually, you're wrong, because people are in prison. People that go to town halls and wear baseball hats, people who speak out too loudly against the government have been put in jails overnight here in Flint. People who protest being poisoned and then nothing changing have been thrown in jail cells. But Snyder's doing just dandy, and most of the public officials. This has been some of the trial hearings. There's the director of Health and Human Services is on trial for possible manslaughter. He's still in pretrial. I think that just ended. It's been going on for months just to see if he'll go to trial. Same thing with the chief. Medical officer, still in pretrial. She's been charged with manslaughter. But it seems that the citizens who have been doing activism and protest, going to town halls, doing this, they're getting thrown in jail. They're facing, threats from the city, intimidation. But the people in charge so far are not facing much because, again, those cases are still in pretrial.
Well, it's just, how long are we going to go at this? It's 4 years. All these different players, like Bruce was saying, whether good, bad, or ugly, we know what's going on, who's doing what. Like you, for instance, you've come in with all this information. It's been stifled since November. What could have happened in November had this information been put out? Regardless of what happened to you, or what, here you are again. I don't see you with a pocket full of money. You understand what I'm saying? As it is, you had to reinvent yourself, and here you are dealing with the same people with issues that have gotten even more worse. We're getting sicker.
I want to ask you about that because they claim the water is safe, but I keep speaking to people who have new illnesses, worse cognitive problems, worse, whether it be mood swings, whether it be brain fog, whether it be kidney, liver, you name it.
Right now it's been 3 years on my stomach. Look at right here, zinc. Affects your organs, hematological, respiratory. See, and there was giving us, the media was giving us, the MDEQ, I took it to Lansing, give it all this information, and no one's did or said nothing except chase Scott Smith out of this place, along with your plumbers union. Thank God for Harold and Ben, and Melissa for staying on top of that. Bruce, who knows what's going on inside these tunnels, and me that's burning eyes and hair, and a granddaughter who is very, very...
And when you say that, you're totally because of the lead.
Right, and we even talked to Dr. Mona about it 3 years ago. Nothing back from her, They're talking about 7 years. This girl's 11 now. She's going into, womanhood. She's coming into her own, and she's angry. She's picked on. There's nothing we can do to help her. We've had races. We can do this for you. We can do that. And as far as down to babies, if the babies,
let me tell you, I'm just keeping it real. I've spent a lot of time with you off camera. You could go from 0 to 180, and it's not always your fault because you have lead in your system. You have all these other things in your system.
Disorders is exactly what it is. They can pussyfoot around it. It's poison. You poisoned us. It's no different than being in a war, and we're fighting our own people. Our health. Yes, I do go from 0 to 109,000 because I'm tired of hearing this shit. Not only that, we're getting beat down for it.
And it's not like you're getting Medicare for all from the government. You're having, as is your wife, for medical costs brought on to you by lead, copper, all this zinc, all this shit you have.
My sugars just increased. I'm now taking insulin. Sure, we're eating right? No, we ain't even drinking water right. The most important thing in your body is water. You understand? And I'm leery. Every time you say, oh, we're going to do the water's good. How can you tell us the water's good? We just buried 4 more. This neighborhood alone, 4 streets deep, 3 streets wide. There's been 9 deaths in the last from cancer, brain aneurysms, or nobody's even coming in here to check on that. You know what I'm saying? Like Bruce, and I'm going to say this, both said we needed that registry back in the day. Where is it?
Registry of health illness?
Yeah, because this is something that should have happened right from the get.
When the declaration of emergency was issued, we promptly put forward a request that a census registry be put together of the people that were exposed here in Flint to this disaster. And it went to the mayor's office. It went around different various local government agencies. The only one that gave a credence to it was, and I want to give kudos to John Gleason, because thank you, John, for at least putting this thing together. We could put that request in writing, and which we did put it in writing, and it was refused. And so for 3 years, it took them to put registry. And then when they decided, I guess they were going to give University of Michigan like 15 million. Michigan State University. Okay, I don't know. Somebody got about 15 million, and then somebody else got some more millions, and then claiming all kinds of kudos that it was their doing, for their work in the government that pushed this narrative. And that's such a crock of bullshit, because the people in the narrative, I can honestly speak, because I'm the one that drafted the request, and I'm the one that took it to John at the Register of Deeds. John and I sat down and we were talking about the lead lines, just as Mr. Palatino has stated. He pulled out a couple of deeds out of there. Look at this right here, and at the very top of the deed, it has the water department, and it has a land description or galvanized pipe written right there. And he said, I've got thousands of these in my files.
They didn't check.
And so
he took it to the mayor.
And so John Gleason, bless his heart, he takes it to the mayor and he says, I got thousands of these. Well, no response. Okay. And so he now wants to know why his records aren't updated in the office, and he finds out that there's $6 million missing from his office. And so just of light with a lot of people that are trying to come up with that description of how that, according to everybody, it was spent just as like everybody else would have spent it, but it was spent wrong. Okay. And I'm saying this in all honesty. This is a major problem within the city of Flint. And it's not just within the city of Flint, it's within the county itself too. Okay. And so with the water issue being what it is to the city of Flint, and relative to KWA and the bond payments and everything in the assurity of the city of Flint, who's making that bond payment? First percentage of the population of the city of Flint is being forced to pay for water they cannot drink. And it's not because it's poison, it's because they refuse to give them any.
And I want to let them know, are we getting commenters, people, what are people saying?
Yeah, they're saying we don't know what to do. They want to help. They aren't sure what to do about it. They're disgusted. They're with you.
That's a mental.
One second. You know what's interesting to me? Now, if you come up with a common sense plan, like let's have a register of health illnesses, right? You would, in a disastrous man-made health, it's just common sense. But if you don't want that information out there, if you don't want the true gravity of this, if you don't want to see the evolution from 2014, 15, maybe you keep up that registry till 2020 and you start seeing even worse medical illnesses, because the true full scope of lead and what it does to you, it doesn't happen in the first year. It happens in years.
Let me touch on that real quick, because here's what the problem is. From the get, the registry should have dropped. That should have been automatic. Because right now we're missing 4 years of people that have left or died. That could have, they'd notice, oh, he's having nosebleed. Is that caused by something? Nobody even knows what happened to us from 2014 to 2017. That in itself is a crime. To make a $15 million deal to get this registry and say, oh, look what we're doing. Isn't it great? This guy screamed for it, and Gleason stood by him, and they went for it, and they were pushed in the face and ignored. People died. We don't know why or how. We're seeing it now. And the ones that are finding other objects in this water besides damn lead, they're getting pushed right away.
But that's the thing. So the official count is 12 people died, Legionnaire. But you just said you buried 9 people in this block. There's plenty of other people that have died with no family history of the things they died of. And it happened after 2014. So really, who the hell knows how many people have died here directly from illnesses related to lead, high copper, zinc, chromium. I mean, there's chloroform in some tests.
The bigger question is, how many could have been saved had they started seeing symptoms that are, look, he's bleeding in the kidney. What's causing that? Can we get him on dialysis now? That ain't had told already. And now it's starting to take a toll on us mentally. Now the anger's starting to show. These kids are going to be hell to deal with. Is the state going to pay for that?
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I've been here a lot. Like, this is my 10th time. And from my first time interviewing a lot of the same people, you included, to now, you see a shift in people through no fault of your own. But you see the thought processing. You see people's answers. It takes them longer to get a thought out. You see people's mood swings have been a lot more quick.
There's a lot of things too, like trigger words. Yeah. Transparency. What does that mean? Well, you're going to get through the first 2 doors, but that third door that you really need to get through, no.
But my point is, I've seen, just from my first time in 2016 here, August 2016, 2 years, a lot worse effects people are wearing. The water's being called safe now, but you're having problems when you shower. Right. Can you tell people, like, still right, what do you...
Take me upstairs right now, there's still a clump. Leave it as a reminder. Not that we need it. It's there. We're living it.
Tell the audience what happens when you shower here.
When I shower, the right side of my eye burns, and it has since 2014. Although then I didn't know it. I couldn't breathe. I've been to breathing treatments. No one said a word. Blood test, blood. And it's true, man. It hurts. I'm snapping because the dog ran out the door. And it's like you're angry. And you can just be driving. Next thing you know, you're balled up. You know,
I know your wife's not on camera, but that's not exactly so great for a marriage.
It's not good. We're struggling right now. We're still in and out with each other. We've been together 37 years, off and on now. You know, see, I'm ready to well up, because this is my life. This is my family's life, and we're stuck in this freaking rut. We were put in this disaster, this poisonous disaster, can't be said any other way. Financially, they destroyed us. We tried to rebuild this neighborhood. We were doing very well. Their master plan, their land bank scam, and things come in. The emergency manager, what a joke. And we voted against all of this. Well, maybe not all of it. The land bank was a good thing when it started out, but now it's just profits for profit. We can't gain nothing here. I can't even rent a house and feel safe about it.
I ask you because piece and the report I just published goes into the fact that they're essentially using this data. You know, Edwards tested 34 homes to declare the water normal. The state, they didn't verify whether they were testing lead service lines. They literally had residents from the core program, which was a volunteer program here, untrained residents surmising whether the homes they were testing were connected to lead service lines. You still have, like I said, a lot of homes still testing high in lead. So all of this But that data, which I believe my report shows was very cherry-picked and selective and suspicious, is being used for public policy to shut down water pods. I'm sure to relief money that they haven't even been delivering. So it seems like there's very math and science being used to essentially take whatever little help they were giving to the residents away and essentially let you fend for yourself.
I was surprised to hear governor's office and that, and the people that are still in this mix here, talk about the preachers here, okay, and here in Flint. And the reason I picked up on that comment about the preachers here in Flint is that you don't want to upset your voting box. Okay? You make sure those preachers get what they need.
They always have.
Okay? The voting box is based on the amount of people show up to vote. Okay? That's common sense. Well, black people tend to go to church around here a lot. And bless their hearts for giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. But, you know, they pay taxes on their property for police and water, and they pay taxes on everything that they use, lights and street lights, and they pay all that kind of stuff, okay? Whereas the community isn't being really buffered up by the churches, other than to say that the government said, don't mess with the voting box. So they're more concerned about disturbing the
Voting box.
well, okay, the narrative here in the city of Flint. How many people show up at the polls to vote? Where do those voting blocks come from? They come from these black neighborhoods, and everybody coming up, and the church is 97 years old, right. And I'm, you know, listening to them, and they're there for that base that they've held for the past 68 years. Okay, so the preachers, though, to me, you know, their job is to instruct in the word of the Lord. It's not really to instruct people on how to run a city or to tell you how to vote, okay? But they do.
Everywhere, not
okay.
Just Flint.
So you take a look at this percentage of this machine that's out there that's driving this, okay? And then you look driving this. I've been driving this since 2007. Okay, we've had Governor Blanchard, we've had Governor Granholm, we've had Governor Miller, we've had, and they all know about the pipeline dream that was set up. Said no, because they don't really need anything beneficial to. Why do you want it?
You're talking about the KWA.
I'm talking about the KWA. Okay, so on this bond,
I just want to remind viewers so you're not lost. Essentially, they used temporarily while the Karagandhi Water Authority, which they say isn't a privatized pipeline. I think that's bullshit. It is a privatized pipeline. Basically, they were trying to move this Karagandhi Water Authority, which is a privatized pipeline, payments to be paid back for the Karagandhi Water Authority, among other things.
Let's not forget the 9-mile pipeline that they made sure the outlying areas kept that fresh, clean water from Detroit. $1 million that Jeff Wright had paid the city of Flint to keep that fresh water out in Genesee County, because when people started complaining, oh no, you don't have to worry about it, we're not on Flint's same water line. And when GM starts complaining because their pipes or their parts get rusted, and they switch this whole thing over so they get fresh water, but yet we still have to drink it, bingo, there's your first problem.
I want to go to the financial side. On the financial side of it, the bond holders are really raping Flint.
Who are they, Bruce?
they're very wealthy people that have worldwide holdings in water and fresh water, and water is the next oil of the, so, but going no further than this, again, Flint has about 25,000 customers. Okay, that 25,000. You know how long it takes to build a university? I mean, to plan it and to pour the footings and to put in, about the same long time as it takes to pour the footings. And you know how much it costs to build a university versus a water plant? About the same much. Okay, and so we've got all these universities that are here, and that's being given to the universities. They don't pay any tax.
Neither do your churches.
Okay, and so now your tax base is being manipulated even further down, and so who are you going to get that from? So you got to look at the long-term plan here. The long-term plan is manufacturing is going to somehow parlay being given this property that's available. The lakes that are going to be made available by developers, I'm not even going to talk about that. I want to talk about the engineers that put the study together that said you can use the Flint River as a temporary base until Karagandhi gets tied in. And then I want to know how it was that until it gets tied in never happened. Okay, so in the interim of it goes this. From the very beginning, when Mr. Jeff Wright approached the Flint City Council at their meeting and the proposal to this, one of his things was that you will be able to treat your what you want. Okay, that was his plan. They said to him, "Tell us more," and he said, "We can build this pipeline and you will buy water, you will get the water, you and I will apply for the bonds, we'll make this thing happen." People that were at city council at any point in time, Dane Walling and all those people that were at city council could have said, see your way out the door. Okay, but they didn't do that. And Richard Baird told me the reason that Dane Walling didn't do that is because he was so broke in the pension funds and retirement from the water funds being manipulated and taking $62 million deficit sitting on the table. Somebody got to make up $62 million. Well, that's the same problem they got right now, Jordan. They have to pay the pensions. They have to pay the retirement plans that they set up for the cushions and the golden parachutes that they set up.
And they took it from the water fund, basically.
Yes.
So there's a lot of layers to peel of corruption here. But as we end, I just want to, for the layman.
They need new pipes.
Right. For the layman, should people believe that the water here is restored, is safe to drink, anything like that? Would you say the water here is safe to drink? Or city was restored, which is what we've been told from Governor Snyder, words, and the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality.
Let's step back on Snyder. Remember that 30-day I'm going to drink water? He took off to Switzerland or Sweden or whatever, made a big water deal with them. This water is not safe. And people say, oh, you've got free bottled water. People have died for this shit right here. And we got to lift that. And from day one, I said, every time we lift a case of water, one case doesn't even make dinner. Snyder gets to walk around with his head held high. This guy needs to be punished, and anybody associated with him. The EPA, the MDEQ, and all of them, from Dane Walling, all of them need to face the piper. Not the pipe fitter, the piper. Who holds them bonds? The elite, destroyed, the poor. What's in the middle? It won't be none of us very soon. We're already showing problems. This is 4 years into it. What's going to happen in another 4? Better yet, who's going to be alive in another 8? We might not be here for another interview. It's a thought. This water's not good. They're going to try and tell you everything's great. That's bullshit.
They hired that company out from California. Right. And I don't know what the business exactly will be with them. But
who hired what company?
The city of Flint hired a company to basically marshal a program and hand it to the city of Flint and then the city of Flint looks at it, reviews it, approves or disapproves it, and puts it in place, okay, for progression of getting the city back to delivery of water. The delivery of the water is where the problem is. And so until those pipes restored to a safe drinking water capacity, they're not going to be producing safe water. It's just, you cannot produce by pumping it through contaminated pipes. Now, Jordan, if I poured a glass of water for this rate, for you, and then I added a little bit of everything that goes to it, and you said, I'm not going to drink that shit. Well, of course you're not, because common sense says you're not going to drink it. Huh?
I had a McDonald's iced coffee today from Flint. It's McDonald's iced coffee. Tasted like my grandmother's piss. God bless you. Rest in peace. I mean, I've never tasted coffee like that in my life. My former cameraman, Ty, who love you, Ty, if you want.
Yeah, what's Ty?
He drank water last year from, I don't want to put the restaurant on blast, but a restaurant in Flint. He forgot. We usually get bottled water, but he put it, drank tap water, spit it out. Like a mix of chlorine and dead something.
But the businesses get away with it by saying, oh, our water's filtered. Yeah, well, the filters suck. Let's be honest. They don't work. Oh, they may be pushing something out of the way, but they're not pushing all of it out of the way.
And by the way, the filters go bad, and you don't even know that they've gone bad.
You don't.
I want to say this in defense of the people, if I can, that for drinking the water, okay, use the judgment of better judgment. If you were told the truth from the very beginning, you wouldn't have to be questioning everything that you're being told now. So it's not your fault that you're questioning. It's not your fault that you're apprehensive. It's really not your fault. And to put the blame where the blame goes would be to say that Michigan's worst man-made disaster ever was here in Flint, Michigan, 2014, and it's still ongoing. And the governor will soon be out of office, and all of the people will soon be out of the picture, and we will all still have the land that we use and that we call home here as our land. And people are losing their land. Now, there's a hardship in losing your land. If it was something that you did because of what you did, oh well, that's America. But when somebody else creates something such as what has been done, and then tells you, look, I'm sorry, but you're shit out of luck. I have immunity. You can't touch me. Anybody below me, I'm sorry, you guys are on your own. Anybody that turns witness against me, guess what? I'm probably not going to be so faithful in your corner.
But go ahead and trust me anyway.
So my point is that the people here in Flint are the most injured and the least given recovery. And so the city itself is seeking some remedying this problem. And they're not going to get it from the federal government. And they're not government. Okay? And so the city has to come up with its own devices in its own means. And those devices are available. Less than 4, maybe 6 hours away in Chicago are companies that can come in and do the things that need to be done in these pipes to hook up these 24,000 homes, if you would. And I'm saying it's not as easy as that, because you've got to shut down all the other 600 miles that are out there. There's the key right there. Okay? If I'll try to put this as plainly as I can. If the people with the money that have the money to get it fixed don't step up to get it fixed, okay, then it's not, and that's not the people's fault that the people that created this mess are not stepping up to clean it up. They are not coming to the fire to put it out. And the only people that are throwing buckets of water on this fire are the citizens. So when the governor is gone and everybody else is gone, we'll be also gone. 30, these adults, see, we all kind of leave out, we're only testing 7-year-olds, okay? Adults, right on down the line. Anybody did a forensic study on the amount of deaths associated to the disaster? Would be not associated because of the disaster, but during the disaster. What was that additional spike in deaths between that age group? Okay, where were these numbers? Need any more lies. We don't need any more sympathy. What we need are results, and results come from money. And the people that have the money in this town, for over 100 years. Okay, and if they said it would be done, paying the bond off, absolutely. Wiping the slate clean for poison water from 2014 to 2018, absolutely. Putting in a new infrastructure system to service the 24,000 homes that you have, you can always tag on and leave something to lead on to add on to more people as you build up, if you ever do build up. Okay. The colleges and the universities are important instruments, diamonds and jewels of the community, but so are the people. People that attend those universities that live here are minuscule. When I ask how many students of the 30,000 were made up of Flint graduate, they did tell me it's a number that they don't calibrate. They don't keep those numbers. Well, that's bullshit, because the city of Flint has Kettering, the city of Flint has all of these universities. If there's 30,000 students from around the world, I want to know how many graduates are attending these colleges. And I can pretty much assure you from what I've heard in what people give is to put Christmas programs on for people here. They'll take 1 or 2 students in here, but there's no throng of students being graduated from the city of Flint. There's no throng of engineers that are working here in the city of Flint with Rowe Engineering or Wade and any of the other engineering companies that are there. There are none of those benefits being extracted, but everybody is here to get something.
Also, if I can touch on just something real quick. As you eliminate the guys that are out there, the people, the families that are further out from the city, as you rebuild, I agree we do need to make a smaller city. But like Bruce says, tap it so you can get back into that line again in case we do expand. But what do you do with them folks that are out there, even in the city, that you're trying to, that's the word, you're eliminating us. What are you going to do with us? You don't care. Like he said, they're at this level. We won't reach that. Get rid of them? How? Poison them? Tell them to move? You're not my problem anymore? You're not even an asset to the city. In fact, all of your assets, we just sold for $1. Most of the stuff is on a 501c3 or a church or whatever that's not even getting taxed. You want to talk about Flint's tax base? It's the people ordinary amounts just to live in this city because we love it. I was born.
That's why I say that director in the water about forfeiture and taxes on people's homes, that's ridiculous. That's like, Keynesian economics, upside down. It's not going to fly. It might fly for him. He'll get his paycheck. Okay. And this is another thing that kind of disturbs me a little bit. I wish people would collect paychecks that they earned and stop taking a paycheck for doing things that shouldn't be being paid for. Okay. And so I don't care what the mayor says, how she goes about it. I'm not going to condemn the mayor for bringing any of the national attention. As the thing went national, as soon as it did, Congress put a lid on it. They said, no way, absolutely. And then all these other towns started creeping up. Say, wait, we got problems. Wait, 10 times that. We've got this, we've got that. And look at our Air Force bases, our military. And so the government wants a lid put on this, and they're going to put a lid on it in its own. So I'm saying that the devices are that the city of Flint is the model of what to expect on its water, in water reliability.
The civil rights guy said that first. We're poster children for this disaster.
And that right there, as some people have asked, Jordan, why do you keep going back to Flint? Your passion is like this because of what you just said. Because if it's normalized here, it's going to be normalized everywhere, because you're seeing water contamination, whether it's lead, whether it's other cancer-causing chemicals. You're having now military bases are having all sorts of chemicals from years and years of just industrial pollution. You're having the Manhattan Project sites with landfills that are now uranium leaking out. I mean, the chickens are coming home to roost. And the thing is, in Flint, if you basically allow American citizens to be poisoned and then essentially leave them to fend for themselves, that will be normalized, and that will be the blueprint in all other communities. So that's why I keep coming back here. It's not just a Flint thing, it's everywhere. It's a world thing. Last thing, message for the audience, what should people know? Because really, my audience watches because I don't cover Trump 24/7, and I don't cover stupidity. The media is covering what Roseanne Barr tweeted for 2 days now. I'm sorry, Roseanne. She said a racist thing, and ABC canceled her. They should have, but we need to hear about this. We hear about something Trump tweeted for 3 days, some weeks. We are hearing about Russians destroying democracy. I don't hear anything in the national media about Flint anymore. And I don't hear anything about American citizens. Essentially, the water pods are being shut down. I didn't pay attention nationally on that.
Did you see the report that was, I think it was on YouTube, where they had 200 TV announcers all reading this in different parts of the country? Yeah. Bingo.
So what's your final message? What should people know?
Well, first of all, I should have said this from the beginning. I'm telling you, people are like, why you would? What do you mean? Why am I with us? No matter what, the all of us being a team, although we haven't always seen eye to eye, understand that we fight amongst ourselves, fight in a fight, and we come around full circle. Say, hey, maybe I made a mistake. Sometimes we don't. Dude, you've been here from day one. The thing that's happening is the media is squashing all this. They're leading that. We lost our major newspaper. You understand? We have a voice, and guess what? It's you. You're just one of the that they're shutting down. I don't know if you guys are seeing this. You got to get this out because they're not letting this happen.
Well, it's funny you say that because they're trying very hard to shut me down, but unfortunately for them, that's not going to work. Building our own separate website. We're going to be streaming live on our website. One beautiful thing about that is they can't suppress our website because we're going to be able to live stream on our site. It's not going to be through YouTube. It's not going to be through Facebook. It's not going to be through Twitter. It's not going to be through Smoke Signal. We're going to have our own, I won't get into the technical, but we're going to have our own way to live stream. You'll get notifications on your phone, on your whatever. The way things should be, because people should be able to watch whatever they want, but the problem with my content and other independent journalists' content is suppressed by Facebook. They're doing with their technology and their algorithm. That's called censorship. And you know what censorship is a prelude to? Fascism. Fascism, one of the tenets of fascism is censorship. So I don't want to hear this bullshit about Russia's threatening our democracy. No, no, no. The politicians and the corporations are threatening our democracy. And Flint is a perfect example of that. Last thing.
All right, let me just touch real quick. Two things should have happened. The registry from the beginning, water buffaloes with the Army Corps of Engineers. All this shit could have stopped right then. They are the leaders in this. Whenever there's a disaster, they come in and take care of the problem. First and foremost, get us fresh, clean water. Now we got to ask for affordable, you understand, water. It still isn't here. You still can't take a bath or shower. You got a 3-minute time period and it's cool. So some people understand United States, America, the world. Watch for the registry, first of all. and make sure you near and the water buffalo's in there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't had a fresh Flint, Michigan cup of water in over, I bet, 11 years. Because we don't know what they dropped up in that river, and we don't know what's even coming through them pipes. So I really want to thank you.
Very quickly, 2 points. A report came out about what fish you can eat out of the Flint River and how many. You are 1 walleye per year. One. That's all you're medically supposed to eat. Don't eat any more, or you may jeopardize your medical health. 1 walleye? Okay. Well, let's go to the bass. Well, let's go to the other fish. How many fish are you allowed to eat out of that? Well, we don't recommend that you eat very many fish, and if you do, you just be very careful the way that you prepare them. Okay? So you have the industrial contamination waste that's flowing through, okay, ribbons. I feel that Flint is set up like the Indians in the reservations, and then taking away their water and taking away their food, and then pushing them off to another told was safe, would be theirs, moved again, and then moved again. The reason for all the movement was somebody wanted the land. Okay? And I don't care the characteristics of what I say might sound crazy to other people, but that's exactly the same tenure that they did to the Jews in Germany. It's the same tenure that they did over in Hungary. It is nothing new in the movement of people. When people want something and people are in the way of that, you first got to clear it. Okay? And clearing is not done yet. Okay? What they didn't bank on, Jordan, was that the people would be so resilient and stand. They thought that they would go apeshit crazy. They would riot, burn, loot, get the National Guard in here, okay? Martial law, do all of the things that were there. The police right now is basically doing the patrol work here in the city of Flint, okay? For want of purposes of whatever we can do in the city of Flint, the first thing that the people have to have is something they can trust. Okay? And there's still that lack of trust. And it's coming to fill that void. Every one of them, to me, seem to be some other, I've got votes to get. I've got an office to hang on to. I've got funds to get. Well, I'm just here to say that when it comes to the city of Flint, for its population has a potential for enormous growth over the next 45 years. Enormous growth enormous growth for economics, enormous growth for people. Okay? Schools, of all the schools that are in the city of Flint, 24, 36 schools, how many are less than half a dozen? Okay? Stores, gone. Okay, the major places where people used to live under Section 8 and PUD housing, gone. All in the 60s for fair housing and everything that was put into place for, people. So, Flint was the model for that, for the nation, okay? So it's being dismantled. And anybody that knows anything about the history of the country and civil rights, what dismantling means when it comes to taking your home. And where you don't want to be.
Well,
thank you.
I want to thank you guys for having me. Obviously, yeah, I think that it's super important to keep the attention on this. I don't care if I'm talking to 50 viewers or 50 million, same thing. We're going to get it out to as many people as we can. And if you like what you've seen, definitely share this video. There's other interviews I'm doing here. I interviewed Harold Harrington with the plumbers this morning. I interviewed Nakia Wakes. She miscarried 2 sets of twins in 2 years here. The doctors told her it wasn't lead. Well, that's kind of suspect. I'm going to be interviewing others tomorrow. Want to help us afford all this because I'm not with TYT anymore, so a lot of this is coming out of my pocket. You could sponsor the trip, jordanchariton.com/thank you. We've had a lot of people sending in contributions. We had one guy leave $250, another guy $100, bunch of $50. It's all so we could afford the hotels and the rent-a-car and all that. And most importantly, share the videos, share this content. Not making it that easy to find. Facebook, same thing. Share these videos. And thank you to all the Patreon subscribers. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. I just put up a diary from my bed last night, only for Patreons. I did have clothes on, nothing funny. And yeah, I'll be continuing to definitely share the videos, get this stuff out, and share my story. If you haven't read it, it's in the description box. Thanks.